Years from now, some of them may look back and ask themselves whether they've made the right choice, whether they've made the most of the opportunities they've been given. Together, we have the same mission. Over the course of your life, you will find that things are not always fair. You will find that things happen to you that you do not deserve and that are not always warranted. But you have to put your head down and fight, fight, fight. Never, ever, ever give up. Don't give in, don't back down, and never stop doing what you know is right. Nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy. And the more righteous your fight, the more opposition that you will face. In your hearts are inscribed the values of service, sacrifice, and devotion. Now you must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. It is why our currency proudly declares, "In God we trust." And it's why we proudly proclaim that we are one nation under God. The story of America is the story of an adventure that began with deep faith, big dreams, and humble beginnings. The next generation of American leaders never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit. Never quit. Never stop fighting for what you believe in and for the people who care about you. Carry yourself with dignity and pride. Demand the best from yourself. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead. You must keep pushing forward. And always have the courage to be yourself. America is better when people put their faith into action. Pray to God and follow His teachings. Today, each of you begins a new chapter as well. When your story goes from here, it will be defined by your vision, your perseverance, and your grit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. As long as you have pride in your beliefs, courage in your convictions, and faith in God, then you will not fail. As long as America remains true to its values, loyal to its citizens, and devoted to its Creator, then our best days are yet to come. May God bless the class of 2017. May God bless. And I just want to let you know that God blesses you. And I want to just say, you are special in every way. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm calling the angels down. I'm storming the gates of hell. Tell the devil he don't own my soul. I'm taking back what the enemy stole. I'm raising the battle cry. I'm holding the banner high with the power of the Holy Ghost. I'm taking back what the enemy stole. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Back to Light. I'm Kat, and we have Jim O'Connor with us as always. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing fine, Kat. It's good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm excited for today's show. I think that it's needed, and it's the times are a little bit rough out there, right? And people are just being so mean and nasty to one another, and we just have to come from a different place, I'm feeling. And we had a show with Mark about this, and we're just going to expand a little bit about it. Like, where do we go from here? How do we get the respect back, right? How do we get the common decency back? And how do we start to put the pieces back together and know thy neighbor, right? And get to that place of community again. What do you think?
I think that's extremely important, and it's one of those things that people don't understand, that we're actually commanded to do that. And what we could call the second great commandment, or the golden rule, which is love your neighbor as yourself. People forget that's a compound sentence. So when you really analyze a compound sentence, it's we are to love our neighbor and we're to love ourselves in equal proportion.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't even love themselves anymore. So we have to even get back to that, the self-love, because they are treating their neighbor like themselves, because they're treating themselves like garbage.
Yeah.
Choices that they make, things that they decide to do. Yeah.
Well, Kat, you know I'm an exorcist. And, as an exorcist, we get to experience some really weird things. And during exorcisms, we can actually pin down demons and force them in the name of Jesus to tell the truth. Now, if you're not trained in how to do this, don't start, because, it can go terribly wrong. But the demons love prescription medicines. They call it not just the illegal drugs, but they call all the drugs, legal and illegal, especially prescriptions, pharmakia. Yeah. So all the warnings about pharmakia in the Bible apply to both. Right. And usually prescription medicines come with side effects. And the side effects are designed to make you sick. And the medical system never solves the problem. They try to solve symptoms. So they chase you with one medicine and another medicine. And the demons actually delight in this, which is kind of sick, because they think they make people really more miserable, and they die before their work is completed. And that makes it more likely that they get their souls in hell. So for the demons, it's a win-win. They love the misery, and they love the opportunity to cut people's work short and possibly get them in hell before they have a chance to repent. And they say these things during exorcisms. Now, I know there are a lot of people who have the BS flag going up saying, oh, that's just a crock of crap. You can believe whatever you want.
Wow.
But isn't truth stranger than fiction? And this is the truth. And part of the not taking good care of yourself and running to the doctor for every little bump and bruise and every little, and I mean, there are times to go, like if you need surgery, you can't do that yourself.
Right.
But if you just don't feel good a certain day, you don't need to put a poison in you to feel better. You need your immune system to work better.
You just got to get in
You need to have-
alignment.
That's
right.
If you get disease is more spiritual than it is physical.
That's right.
And if you get the spirit in line, and one of the ways you do that is loving yourself and loving your neighbor, loving God above all things, then things kind of tend to take care of themselves. The healthier a person's religious life is, usually, I should say spiritual life, because religion and spiritual are different. But the healthier your spiritual life is, the healthier your body's going to be.
Yeah, and I'm noticing that because the group that we have on Telegram, I just love our community. It's just so beautiful and blossoming, and everybody is just, it's the way it used to be, respectful and allowing each other to tell each other stories. And they started to write and say, now that I'm doing this, I'm more mindful and I'm noticing things and things are more in alignment and I'm actually able to go throughout my day in my balance. And so it's just so cool I know it works, but to see it working on a mass scale and it's just such a beautiful community. And that's what I see for the world, that community, we're everywhere. Because it is just such a beautiful place. Everybody is just sending each other love and prayers and just happiness every day. And we don't talk politics in there because that's just one place that we said, let's not do that. We do it on the show here, but we don't do it in the room. And it's just an upliftment. And it's a nice place where people go just so they can get away from all of the crazy for a little while. And it helps them balance and it helps them to realize they're not alone in this. And one of the things that I've been telling people for years is we are the med beds. I said, well, what if we can just get ahead of it, right? Just start with your mind and start to put that into practice. I said, and then what if you can't get into these things, right, without having your mind right? You have to get that right. So get it right now. Get a jump on it.
Exactly.
So this is what we're teaching in there. And it's just such a beautiful, beautiful group. I love it.
Yeah, it's a great group and I enjoy it too. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is Peter was told after he told Jesus he was the Messiah that you are Peter the rock, and upon this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell won't prevail against it. And the Greek word that they used for church was ecclesia. And the word ecclesia actually means a small community of believers. It has nothing to do with a hierarchy or a cathedral or a building. It has everything to do with the like-minded souls who get together in fellowship. And that's what a true church is a like-minded group of people who fellowship together. So our little chat site is much more of a church than any of the big cathedrals in New York City or anywhere else in the world, because those are buildings.
I believe so. Yeah. And I used to always say that, I always felt like more in alignment out in nature than in this building. And then there was people in that building that really didn't walk, in Christ-like, or, they would just be all gossiping and all be just backstabbing one another. And I saw this as a kid and I'm like, I really don't like coming to this building. I don't mind hearing the word and I don't mind hearing the goodness. It was just that building was just so full of opposites, and hypocrites.
One of the people I've gotten to know on my journey is a beautiful woman named Lynn Scott Hagerman, who has a great Rumble channel. And she was a survivor of SRA. And when she was 5, she was in the process of being sacrificed, and the Lord appeared to her. And he comforted her, and he said to her that she was going to be okay. He was with her. And the same things were going on when he was a little 5-year-old boy in Nazareth, and he used to hide then so he wouldn't get hurt. But a lot of the little kids were getting hurt by the priestly class. And so the Lord knows about all these evils. There's no hiding it from him. And he was protected by God the Father and the holy angels. But, and so was Lynn. And she's a great person. And she is one of those, and so am I, that we use the LifeWave patches. And the LifeWave patches are infused with copper peptides. And copper peptides help regenerate stem cells, help the immune system. And really, the better you take care of your body, the better you rest, the better you take care of your mind by avoiding things like porn, which rots the mind and the soul, destroys any type of relationship you could have with anybody else. The more you stay away from gambling, which is an addiction, the more you stay away from abusing alcohol or any kind of drug, the better off your body's going to be. And, you know, there's nothing like a good night's sleep. There's nothing like a good, wholesome meal. You know, Moses started the Exodus when he was 80. He walked in the desert for 40 years. He didn't have to stop walking because he was 85. He still had 15 more years to walk. And he ate what God provided. He didn't have an HMO. He didn't have medicines that we have today. And for some reason, he was as healthy as could be. Maybe there's a message in that.
Right.
And he was surrounded by
I think so.
a good, you know, the inner circle of Moses was a good community of believers. They supported one another. Those are the things we really need.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I'm an Orthodox Catholic talking about a great Jew. But, you know, we're all sons and daughters.
You know, this is
yeah.
Right. Well, this is why we do this, because it's taking the old paradigms and breaking them pretty much and saying it's okay, you can be this and this, and we can still have conversations, and we can still agree to disagree and still be friends, and, you know, all this that was just lost over the years. You know, it's just become you have to be this or this, and it's that division again. And we talked about that on the last show. It's all this division, you know, and it's just like,
oh yeah,
when how do we put it back together? So I love that. So if enough of us start little communities and they just branch out, that's a good solution.
That's the way the early church was. And the early church had men and women priests and men and women bishops, something that's been swept under the rug. They talk about Aquila and Priscilla in Rome, about the time that Nero was beheading St. Paul and crucifying St. Peter upside down. But Aquila and Priscilla were a married couple who ran the Church of Rome. They both broke the bread. They both preached Jesus. They both blessed people to preach Jesus and break the bread. They were bishops. And what a beautiful thing for a husband and wife to work together in love, serving the Lord. That's the real model. And there are families and extended families. Extended families are called communities.
I love it. Love it. And I don't know if you've been able to check out any of Claudia's work, but she's been doing some things called the Great Unbrainwashing. And we have been putting them out there for people to just start to that critical thinking again. And this was the last one that we talked about. And it was like, you know, because I felt like I was having this conversation with you, and I'm like, wait, that was the unbrainwashing. So it was all about how, you know, we used to know who everybody was. Everybody used to look out for each other, right? It used to be able to go out quick to the store and the neighbor would just know that the kids were okay, you know, or just like something quick and easy, but that's all lost. And it's like, I don't even know any of my neighbors. I've been here 2 years already. I don't know any of my neighbors. They do the nice, you know, polite nod, but that's about it. So that respect and that community has been so lost. Well, so I'm grateful that we are a solution.
I can give you a nice little story. Me and my boyhood buddy, Ricky Shear, were 9 years old. And this was in 1962. And we decided that we both wanted to drink a quart of Pepsi. And our mothers wouldn't let us. So we went around finding enough pop bottles so that we could buy a quart. And so we get this quart and we have it in a brown paper bag. And he's got his quart, I have my quart. And we don't want to go near home, so we're across the street of Englewood Avenue in the town of Tonawanda, across from North Buffalo, where we live, near Public School 83. And we have our brown bag, and we decide to sit in the building next to the IGA, which was a liquor store. So here we are, two little boys with a brown bag, drinking our Pepsis in front of a liquor store. The guy that owns the liquor store can't see it. And we're sneaking it because we know we're not supposed to have Pepsi. Well, some neighbor called his mother and my mother, and we got the old ear drag home. But that's
They probably thought you were drinking something worse.
Yeah, well, it looked like we had a bottle of hooch because we were laughing and enjoying it because we were getting away with it. And it looked like to our mothers that we were drinking booze. And oh man, were they upset. It was, wait till I tell your father and all that. But that's how neighbors used to watch out for each other.
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm. You couldn't get away with anything.
No.
Not that we were really bad kids, but you didn't even try.
Yeah, it was sneaking a quart of Pepsi got us in trouble. Because it looked like we were drinking booze.
It's hysterical. And now look at you.
Yeah, well, I still wouldn't sit in front of a liquor store with a brown bag, because that's just bad form. I learned my lesson as a little kid and I'm blocked from it.
You'd still get in trouble nowadays because it's drinking in public, right? Even though you're an adult.
It's funny. It depends on the state. But yeah, you can't do that in Virginia. Virginia, you can't drink in public.
I don't think you can do that here because we're never allowed to. Only on parade day.
Yeah. Well, that's an important
exceptions.
Day. Yeah, it's a curse of the Irish.
Well, yeah. So what do you think some other solutions could be beside building these mini communities and things like that?
Well, personal responsibility for our own bodies is very important. I mean, these are the suits that house our minds and our souls. And it's important to exercise. I just got done with a nice 2-mile walk with my puppy who's has to take a break now. Yesterday I lifted weights. Tomorrow I'll lift weights. I can still bench 320 even though I'm 72 years old. And I do between 8 and 12 reps, depending on how good I feel. Mm-hmm. And I don't do any more than that because that's all the weight I have. But that's still pretty darn good for an old guy. But if we really look at it, I'm really not an old guy. We're supposed to live until 120. So right now I'm really middle-aged. I'm in that middle third.
Middle-aged.
And people should think of it that way. And if people did, they would live longer because they would take better care of their bodies. There's no reason for someone who's 100 to be old. Now, if I look at what Elon Musk's found, he's found that there were 17.2 million people who were more than 100 years old. That's pretty cool. But not but it's not true, because when I do a Google search and
true.
how many people are 100 or older, it's 101,000.
Mhm.
So there's a problem there.
Yeah, definitely.
And I get my military retirement, I get my Social Security. I'd like the Social Security to be solvent. So it'd sure be nice if it was just given to people who paid into it and who are still alive.
Who are alive and not 6 months old.
Yeah,
So that one too.
yeah. They cut off my wife's Social Security the month that she died
Mm.
4 years ago, and that was the right thing to do. But they've missed about 17.1 million of them that they should have cut off.
Oh yeah, they cut my dad's right off.
Yeah, but
So
you got to wonder who the heck they're paying. And
well,
keeping people
that's why this.
keeping people poor, keeping people full of fluoride and other poisons,
Yeah.
chemtrail poisons, the poisons that are on the boob tube. That keeps people, that shortens lives and destroys people's minds and souls.
Yeah.
And we really need to demand more. Do we need to have, remember the days when the hamburger places would brag that they had 100% USDA grade A beef?
What's the other percent?
Yeah. That was, if it's 100% ground beef and it's good ground beef, it's probably good for us. But I wonder what they're putting in them now. And there's a part of me that doesn't want to know, because I think I would get sick and vomit. But also, I'm not buying their stuff anymore, because my dollar is voting that if it ain't good for me, I ain't putting it in my mouth. If we take good care of what comes in our mouth and good care of what comes out of our mouths, we can have a much, much better life.
Definitely can. Yeah, I don't know what they're putting in them, and I stopped eating that stuff a long time ago, thank goodness.
Yeah, there's a famous one of those companies that took the beef fat out of the French fries, and now they have 100 different additives in their fries. That's a big number. And there are 100 different additives that are in common foods, like the dyes
Wow.
and the corn syrups and the petroleum, that aren't available, you can't get in other countries. And we wonder why America is so sick.
Yeah.
Think of us.
I was actually speaking to someone today.
Now, go ahead, Kat.
Sorry, we're on a delay. I'm sorry, we're on a delay. I don't mean to I keep feeling like I'm cutting you off, but I hear a pause. I was speaking with someone today, and she's a brand new mother of a 4-month-old. And she said she couldn't find formula anywhere in the States that's like healthy. And she had to actually go to a European company because they use so much less toxins over there, or pretty much none, more so than what we have. And it's like, why is this allowed? Why isn't anybody up in arms over this? Like what people choose to make a big deal about blows my mind. But then again, I also know that it is paid protesters. It's not organic. But where are the people that are upset about what's in our food, our air, our water? Like, you shouldn't have to go to another country to get products that are safe. You shouldn't have to.
No, you shouldn't have to. And there's another way to feed a child, the natural way, and that always works.
Well, some women can't.
Yeah, except for those poor, unfortunate women who miss out, because I think it's even more important for the mother. You can tell when a mother feeds her child, not only does she from her breasts, not only does she bond with that child more and nourish that child much better than anything that man can make, it also helps her body recover faster. And the women who tend to breastfeed end up much thinner than the women who bottle feed, because it helps them get rid of the additional weight they had to put on to carry the baby. And it's a wonderful thing for them, and it's a wonderful thing for their children. My mother breastfed all 7 of us, and there wasn't a time in her life that she didn't fit in her wedding dress. And my mom was, anybody who knew my mom knew that she was breathtakingly beautiful. And she was a very gorgeous woman. And she had 7 of us. 7's a lot of kids, 7 and 12 years. And she kept her figure. But she kept her figure because she always breastfed and she always exercised. Chasing 7 kids is good exercise.
That'll do it. Built-in exercise.
Yeah. But she would watch Jack LaLanne and do those exercises, and she would skip rope. And she would run around like a young kid. She had a lot of fun. Being a mother could be a lot of fun. Yeah. But and it's okay because, think of the Blessed Mother. I'm sure that she had a lot of fun chasing Jesus and doing things with her and Joseph. And, what a great role model for, mothers are more important than fathers. And the deep state has really done a job on mothers. They have them so guilty and so overworked and so unrested. It's terrible. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking about becoming a mother, understanding that is the most important job that any person, not just a woman, but any person could ever have. And to just do that job and do it well. Because you not only influence the next generation, but the generation after that. And who doesn't remember a good grandmother? And that starts by being a good mother. And of all the older people I miss the most, it's my grandmothers. And my grandmother O'Connor was 90 when I graduated from West Point. And my grandmother Barrett was 80 when I graduated from West Point. And if you've ever been to West Point, there are a lot of hills there. And it's a kind of a tough place to walk. But my 90-year-old and 80-year-old grandmothers had no trouble walking around the place the couple of days before and during the day that we actually graduated. And they didn't get tired. They were able to walk. They were both very spry. They were both quite old, according to standards. And but they were walking machines, and it was really fun seeing them there, and it really meant a lot to me. And that's the kind of thing that a good mother can do, is keep herself alert and awake and in shape enough to enjoy some of the things that happen to their grandchildren and be a good part of something very important.
That's beautiful. I'm glad they were able to be there and experience that, because there are like 50-year-olds that are in so much pain they can't even walk. Well, so that they're able to do that for you, that's wonderful.
Well, they're the ones without the good immune systems anymore. And, I'll be honest, I have a big bias against our medical system. And it's because I took the Gulf War shots. I was a major in the Army, and I had to take the shots to go to the Gulf War. And I got sick as a dog from these shots. And the medicine they gave me after I got over the initial sickness was a medicine that had the cancer virus in it in the 90s. And I'm in a lawsuit against the companies that did this, and they're all vaccine companies too. And if they were putting this into medicine that they gave soldiers who were going off to war 30 years ago, imagine how much better they are at killing people now.
Yeah.
And
It's really sad. It's really sad.
it is sad. So if they fool you once, that's shame on them. If they fool you twice, it's shame on you. And
That's what my uncle used to say.
yeah, and it's, have your self-respect and just say, no more.
Yeah.
There was a saying in the 60s, long before you were here, Kat, that we don't ride on the railroad rides on us. If all the customers quit going to the railroad goes out of business.
That's right.
As long as we buy their bad medicine, we'll get bad medicine. If we tell them to buzz off, they're gonna go out of business, or they're gonna change. And
Which I think is what's happening now.
if you look at
Because I see a lot of,
yeah, and all these people are beating
I
up
do
Robert.
see that shift in consciousness of health.
Yeah, a lot of people
I know.
beat up Robert Kennedy Jr. because of his stance against the vaccines. Okay, but you tell me how thimerosal and formaldehyde and aluminum oxide,
Yeah.
which are all components in basically every shot, thimerosal, mercury, and lead, how that helps me beat a disease. Something that destroys my brain, my ability to think, my immune system. That isn't going to help me fight disease. How about a copper peptide that, after age 60, our immune system basically goes to sleep. How about something that wakes up the immune system, like a copper peptide? There's cures for cancer, but
Yeah.
4 years ago, I had to get radiation because we couldn't get the other cures that were less invasive and didn't have terrible side effects. Because of the side effect that I got from the radiation, I had to have a surgery. And in the surgery, I got MRSA.
It's just that perpetual downward
Yeah.
spiral dealing with the sick system. It's just horrendous.
And, a lot of
And
people,
the cures are actually patented.
yeah.
So why would they patent it? Something to think about.
Oh, yeah. But there are good things that are patented too, but, big
Mhm.
pharma who lobbies Congress pretty heavily. Our congressmen who are multimillionaires on a $170,000 to $200,000 salary a year. Wonder how they do that.
Yeah. I thought it was called public servant.
Yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
all the drug commercials on television where all these happy people are taking all these drugs.
Yeah.
And by the
The
time
side
most-
effects are blah, 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 blah.
yeah, and by the time they all die when they're 78, pretty much, they're on 20 different medicines.
Yeah.
Not one of them helps their immune system. And blood pressure medicine, oh, that's one of my
Right.
favorites because that's venom. will poison you,
Yeah.
so your body works less efficiently and you won't have high blood pressure. And then, you'll be a kidney You'll need a kidney transplant or dialysis, and we'll suck out even more of your money
Right.
until you're broke. Once you're broke, then you die.
Toss you aside. Right.
That's their community. Our community is to love each other as we love ourselves, to nourish our bodies and our souls and our minds, to take better care of ourselves, physically, morally, and spiritually, and mentally. It's a much better way to live, but we all have free choice and we can choose whichever path we want. But once you go down that big pharma path, they got you.
There's no coming back.
Well, you remember.
You have to work really hard.
Yeah. Well, I know you lost your dad, and I feel terrible about that. But
Thank you.
you remember what helped him.
I do.
We just didn't get the word to you soon enough.
Yeah.
And it was one of those medicines they say are horse medicines. Well, whatever happened to that expression, healthy as a horse? They used to describe people that way, people who were
Yeah.
very mature and still able to do things. My buddy Tom is the same age as I am. And he takes these X39 and X49 patches. And he does 2 hours of hard judo 3 times a week. And he's a brown belt, or excuse me, a green belt. And he spends sometimes getting the heck kicked out of him and beat out of him by the black belts because he really wants to learn. And he gets up and spry as can be, but he's taking good care of himself. And he has a nice community of friends. They all look out for each other, and it's just it's a better way to live.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about my dad, and I had called the doctor over, and I said, could we just, because my father wasn't able to swallow. So everything we had to have it administered through the doctor. But I tell you, if that man could have swallowed, I could have probably saved his life. But
yeah,
the doctor was like, oh, that's just frou-frou. That's not going to work. And I said, well, I think it's worth a try at this point,
Yeah, what do you got to lose? Yeah.
He was like, nah, that's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, what are you going to do? I had to sit there and watch them not even try anymore. And it was just the hardest part of my life, watching them do that to him.
Well, my late wife was given the first jab. And within 6 days, she had such a severe brain bleed that the swelling in her brain caused half her brain to take up 3/4 of the space in her head, crushed the other half of her brain, and her stem cell, or brain cell was, the stem of her brain was disconnecting because of the swelling. And it was all a result of the jab she was forced to take because she had to do dialysis because she took other medicines that caused her kidneys to fail. And, I got to watch her die, and it was a painful thing. And the surgeon that tried to save her with brain surgery,
I'm sorry you went through that as well.
all he could do was cry because he never saw a brain bleed like that. And this was before we knew that this was a side effect of some of the shots given people. And a couple of years ago, I gave the last rites to a friend of mine, a really nice man, and an Ethiopian Coptic Catholic. And I was able to give him the last rites, which was really important. But he was 50 years old, a weightlifter, not an ounce of fat on his body, as strong as could be. And by the time he died, he was 90 pounds and shriveled up. And he was one of the first ones to die of the turbo cancer. And there was nothing anybody could do for him.
Yeah.
He had to have the jabs. His wife didn't do the jabs. She's as healthy as a horse still. And, you know, he's not here to help her and help raise the rest of their children.
Right.
And
it's horrible because these people that thought they were doing the right thing, right, and they were pressured into it. A lot of people, because you can't see so and so unless you get this. You know, you can't visit and you can't work, or you can't unless you do this. Even though, you know, we held our ground, it wasn't easy. But everybody is like some form of a sick now.
Yeah.
They either have a cough, or they have an eye issue, or they have a stomach issue, or, you know, they have just so much going on, or they're constantly getting a cold, which they never got sick before. Now they're always sick. It's like, you're not making the connection here. Like, you were fine before. And then like, oh, it's just because I'm getting older. I'm like, is it though? Because it's just a year. You're not falling apart after a year, are you? Well, maybe. But it's just sad because they're not putting the 2 and 2 together. And I said, well, could you at least try to do like a detox and see if maybe you feel better? You're like, I'm all about solutions. Let's solve this. Let's not keep continuing down, because it's just going to keep getting worse and worse as you're getting older.
Well, I agree.
And it's something
I got, you know, the typical engineering degree from my time at West Point. And then I also studied management. I have a management degree, master's degree, and I have an MBA. And one of the things I've learned in life and in school is you can never solve a problem that you really don't define. And the worst thing you can do as a leader is try to fix symptoms, because symptoms often don't get to the underlying problem. But if you chase symptom after symptom after symptom, you'll always have symptoms. You'll never solve the problem.
You're going to have another symptom, right? Right.
And that's how people end up on 20 different meds when they needed, you know, a slight change in lifestyle to fix the first thing that went wrong.
Yeah.
And
that was one thing I said. Instead of popping these pills, if the doctor would just say, you can take this, or you can take a couple of walks, and give them the options, right? Because they should be able to have the option if they want the quick fix. But I know a lot of people probably wouldn't have taken that quick fix and say, well, you can have this, but it's going to cause this, 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 and this further on down the line. Or do you want to just get your lifestyle under control? It's just that, I don't know. It's just different now. They're not taught the lifestyle. They're not taught, you know, fresh air. They're not teaching their patients this stuff. Like, go get some fresh air, go get some sunshine, go get some salt water on you, you know, like, just be a little bit. And it's just, I know that things are going in a different direction. So that's what I'm holding in my heart and my mind and in my space, because we've done the other one. It's time for a change.
Well, there are people who are ready for the change, and there are people who will fight like all hell not to change a thing. And, you know, one of the things that upsets me about religion is, besides the lack of spirituality, is all the good books that they knocked out of the Bible. And one of the really good ones is called Pistis Sophia, which means faith and wisdom. And wisdom is female. And Jesus decides 11 years after the ascension to come down and talk with the 11 alive apostles. James the Greater was killed. Judas was gone. Paul was there. So there's 11 with the rest of them. The Blessed Mother, Mary Magdalene, and Mary and Martha. And the primary scribe of all this was Philip the Apostle. And one of the first questions that's asked of Jesus is, why are you here? And the answer translates into, I want to keep my church out of the religious matrix.
Yeah.
And out of the control, and I want it to be communities, and I want people to understand spirituality, and I want people to grow more and more in love with God, more in love with themselves and their neighbor every day. But the only way you can do that is out of the matrix, because if you get in the matrix, it's stand up, kneel down, pray, 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 do exactly what you're told to do. You know, make these, give these people all your money, and you won't grow spiritually. And it's about the relationship. Love is a relationship. Love in a marriage is a relationship between the husband and the wife and the husband. It's a two-way relationship, and it's very intimate and personal. We have a very personal God. He wants that intimate relationship like a marriage between a man and his God, and God and their man or woman. You know, I mean man and the race, not the gender here.
I know what you mean.
And, you know, I don't really care what I call it, if it's mankind or womankind, but he wants that personal relationship with each and every one of us. He's the one that created us. And there's not a lot of money in that for the churches.
Yeah.
You know, because if we have that personal relationship with God, we don't need the churches as much. They can't control us as much. The control and the money, that's all part of the matrix. And God sent his son down to earth at the beginning of the Christian church with the hope that the Christian church wouldn't go into the matrix. And unfortunately it has. And that's
and dragged us all with him.
Yeah. And that's the thing that communities like we're talking about, Kat, keep us from. They keep us out of the matrix. It's not that we're revolutionaries and burn, baby, burn. We just don't want to put up with all that BS and miss the beauty of life. All the money in the world doesn't buy happiness. Like Paul Revere in the Raiders song Kicks, the kicks keep getting harder to find. If all your life is kicks, you'll never be happy. I mean, you'll get temporary joy, but the temporary joy isn't joy, it's a kick. And you have to get more and more depraved to get the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then you hear about some of the things that happen, and, you know, half of Washington is depraved beyond belief. So bad that a lot of people don't believe they're really that bad. But then when you talk to some SRA survivors, you know that they are that bad.
Yeah.
And
for some reason, that just keeps coming up a lot lately, the SRA victims. And I think on our next show, maybe we'll dive more into that.
Yeah, I think
that just keeps coming up. So we'll end it on that, and we will definitely discuss that. I know other people wanted to talk about the lost books as well, so that'll be something else that you could take the reins on that. And
I'd be glad to talk
happy
about
to do that on one of the next upcoming shows. So any last words, Jim? Yeah, that'd be great.
Kat, I have absolutely enjoyed our chat, like I do all our chats, and I look forward to our next show.
Always. Thank you. Appreciate you being here with me and with us. And guys, if you want to be a part of the Telegram, it's down there also in the description. Just let us know, and we would love to have you as part of our community. So that's it for now. Take care. We'll see you soon.
God bless.
Bye.
Learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you'll learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like
That's treason. That's treason. They say, holy shit, they caught us. They caught us.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
And they know the judgment day shall come.